Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Eastchester Union Free School District Board of Education meeting. It's nice to see so many people here with us this evening. Before we jump into the agenda this evening, Elias, I'd like to turn it over to you as our student representative.
Thank you. So for the recaps of school, we'll start with Ann Hutch. We'd like to wish congratulations to the fifth graders who successfully completed the DARE program. Through this experience, students learned important lessons by making safe, responsible choices and building the confidence to handle challenging situations. Another congratulations goes to the cast of The Wizard of Oz and their amazing performance on March 21st. The school is so proud of the students and grateful to the PTA and all of the parents for their continued support in making this production such a success. Students also had a wonderful time participating in the Mad Science Assembly and workshops, where they observed the power of forces such as gravity, centrifugal force, and inertia. They learned how the weight of the Earth's atmosphere pushes down on us and explored Bernoulli's principle through engaging hands-on demonstrations that brought science to life. This month's Heart theme is inclusion. During the Heart Assembly, the focus was on what it means to be an inclusive friend, welcoming others, showing kindness, and respecting everyone's unique differences. For Waverly, Waverly has had an exciting and enriching month filled with meaningful learning experiences and joyful moments for its students. As part of their cultural arts programming, students participated in a hands-on animal assembly where they had the opportunity to meet and learn about unique animals, including a night frog, chickens, and even a pig. It was a memorable experience that sparked curiosity and excitement across all grade levels. First grade students also explored Japanese culture through a special collaboration between the JPA and art teacher, Ms. Larea. Students engaged in creative learning by designing and making their own teacups, deepening their appreciation for art and global traditions. On Monday, Waverly launched their PBIS theme, Be Unique, with a school-wide kickoff assembly that encouraged students to celebrate what makes each of them special and to embrace one another's differences with kindness and respect. Lastly, March's Readathon month was a tremendous success. Students showed incredible enthusiasm for reading, and the Waverly community is so proud of their dedication and the strong support from families and the PTA in fostering a love of literacy. From Greenvale, a springtime at Greenvale brings renewed energy to the school community with many exciting events and activities ahead for students. With the return to school, New York State testing is now underway. While the school strives to keep the testing environment calm and stress-free for students, there are a few simple ways families can help support their children during this time. Families are encouraged to ensure that their child gets a good night's rest, eats a healthy breakfast in the morning, and comes to school with a fully charged Chromebook each day. These small steps can make a meaningful difference in helping students feel prepared and confident. The remainder of the school year always seems to move very quickly. The school is looking forward to a wonderful spring filled with class trips, picnics, and end-of-year celebrations. These special moments are an important part of the elementary school experience, and the school is excited to share them with students. At EMS, 8th grade students had an exceptional career day on Friday, March 27th, engaging with a wide range of professionals across fields. Students heard firsthand about career pathways and real-world experiences from an MLB agent, dentists, doctors, and members of law enforcement in the Westchester County District Attorney's Office. The day was highlighted by an inspiring keynote address from Stephanie Ramos, ABC News national correspondent who shared her career journey and encouraged students to pursue their goals with confidence and purpose. At the high school, everyone at EHS hopes that students, staff, and families had a restorative break and a wonderful holiday. On the Friday before break, EHS held their first annual Multicultural Day, which was a huge success. The building was filled with pride and unity as cultures from around the world were celebrated. It was a wonderful opportunity to build community and learn more about what makes Eastchester such a special place. Many thanks to the community members who graciously volunteered their time to provide students with rich experiences and to the local restaurants who donated delicious food. The third marking period ends this Friday, April 10th, and all students are encouraged to finish the year strong as the school moves into the last quarter of the year. Final exams and Regents' exam schedules have been sent through Parent Square and posted on the EHS website. The tickets are now on sale for the Player Club's performance of Groundhog Day, the musical. The school is excited to see the amazing talent on stage at EHS. Performances will be on Friday, April 24th at 7 p.m., Saturday, April 25th at 7 p.m., and Sunday, April 26th at 2 p.m. Sorry. Now for the Elias 2 for 2, we're going to cut it a little short. I do have 2 still, but I have a report after that as well. So over the break, the Eastchester varsity baseball team traveled to Orlando, Florida. While they were there, they won all 4 games, including the last game was won in walk-off fashion by Chris Castaldo. There were so many team bonding experiences like going to Topgolf and Universal Studios. I see Mr. DeMayo over there. We had a good time. And then the resort, the team stayed at was great as well. A lot of fun activities. And I'd like to thank Elisa and Jesse Waters for organizing this amazing trip that created such great memories and experiences for all of us. Also during spring break, members of the Italian Club went to Italy. Everyone had a great time traveling to a foreign country with their best friends and making unforgettable memories together. They attended Palm Sunday Mass at the Duomo in Florence and got blessed in Assisi. There were lots of sightseeing, food, and learning about Italian culture. It's a great tradition the school has, and huge thanks goes to Mrs. Rovietza, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Benveniste, and Mr. D'Amico for organizing the trip. And for my report, so I met with the Eastchester Middle School leadership program, and it's something similar to what I did in the high school, where I organized like meetings during lunch, and I just wanted to talk about like school experiences, stuff like that. But this was a little different. So I had the privilege to meet with the student leadership program and discuss more about what they do, their accomplishments this year, and ideas that they like to present. The middle school student leadership club is an open group where anyone can join and everyone has equal responsibility. When I spoke to the students, everyone participated, and it really showed how collaborative they are. They meet weekly on Wednesdays, and Miss Logan and Mr. Shurtalk are the advisors, and the club plays a big role in fostering school culture and community engagement. Students organize events like Spirit Weeks, fundraisers, and service efforts, including donating to the Stocking for Soldiers Foundation, collecting for the Eastchester Community Action Program, and hosting a Relay for Life event, participating in Polar Plunge, and gathering donations for animal shelters. They effectively communicate these events that they run to the rest of the student body through Google Classroom and teacher advocacy. Students also shared feedback with me on school experience, highlighting appreciation for the new middle school workout room, longer periods, and cafeteria offerings like the salad bar, while they also expressed interest in the return of the rap station. Overall, it was a great experience being able to meet with the club, as each of them modeled leadership by setting a positive tone across the school. We discussed possible ways to collaborate in the future, and I look forward to meeting again. That's it. Thank you.
Elias, thank you so much, as always, for the very comprehensive update. We greatly appreciate it. Do any trustees have any board reports this evening? I know Dr. Villanueva and her cabinet have a beefy presentation for us. Anybody? Okay, Dr. Villanueva, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I get to kick off this evening by congratulating our EMS Science Olympiad team. And I see them all in their matching t-shirts sitting in the audience. We are so proud because we placed 5th out of 20 districts at the March 7th event at Scarsdale Middle School. And we qualified for the New York State Science Olympiad tournament. And Eastchester had 12 top 10 finishes on that day. Dylan and Ryan Lee won gold medals in the Circuit Lab. And of course, we have to give a big shout out to the team coaches, Daniela Lohr, Tom Boisonneau, I hope I said your last name properly, Matthew Polomas, and Elizabeth Bruni. So I would love it if somebody would like to come up to the podium and say a few words on behalf of the Science Olympiad team. We would love to know even what exciting things you did at the competition, because you did great. And stick around at the end. We'll capture a picture of all of you.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Villanueva, administrators, families, and students. Thank you for taking the time tonight to recognize our Science Olympiad team. As one of the team's coaches, it is truly an honor to speak about this remarkable group of students and the work they have accomplished this year. For those who may not be familiar, Science Olympiad is one of the nation's premier STEM competitions. It brings together teams of students who compete in a wide range of science and engineering events. These events span disciplines such as biology, chemistry, physics, earth science, engineering, and technology. Some events are purely academic, requiring students to master large amounts of advanced scientific content. Others are hands-on engineering challenges where students must design, build, test, and refine devices over many months. A typical Science Olympiad season is a unique extracurricular activity in that students are not only preparing for a single subject or practicing a single skill. Instead, they specialize in multiple events and work in small teams, studying complex scientific topics, running experiments, building devices, and learning to apply scientific principles to real-world problems. At regionals, they compete in 18 distinct events, and at the state level, this increases to 23 unique events. What truly makes this team special is the dedication behind the scenes. These students meet after school, in the evenings, and on weekends. They test prototypes, study together, troubleshoot problems, and support one another through the inevitable setbacks that come with engineering and scientific discovery. They sacrifice countless hours to ensure the team as a whole is thriving, often having to tell friends after school, I can't, I have Science Olympiad. Success in Science Olympiad is rarely about a single moment. It is about persistence, curiosity, and teamwork. Qualifying for the state level is a significant achievement. It reflects not only the talent of our students, but also their commitment to learning, problem solving, and pushing themselves academically. It is something the entire school community can be proud of. On behalf of the coaching staff, I would like to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Villanueva for continuing to support and invest in programs that encourage curiosity, innovation, and academic excellence. Opportunities like Science Olympiad allow students to explore their passions and develop skills that will serve them for years to come. We'd also like to extend our gratitude to the Eastchester School Foundation for their contributions in making the trip to the state tournament accessible for all of our students. A very special thanks to our middle school administrators, Mrs. LeBou and Mr. Carroll, for their unwavering support of the team. As coaches, we rely on your tremendous leadership and guidance. Most importantly, I would like to congratulate our students. Your hard work, dedication, and teamwork have brought you to the state tournament, and we could not be more proud. Thank you, and we are excited to see what this team will accomplish next. Syracuse, here we come. Go Eagles. And we'd like to welcome some of our students just to say a brief word. So, Hudson, you're first.
Hi, my name is Hudson Weiss, and I've been a Science Olympiad member for 3 years. I'm also the current president. Oh, thank you. I'm also the current president of the club. Science Olympiad is very challenging, and it's very fun, though, as well. There's many events in it. I've personally participated in a couple of events, such as Rhodes Scholar, or many other academics, as well as some builds, such as Tower, which was discontinued this year, because they don't go every year, or Boom Lever, which was one of the events that we medaled in. All 3 of our teams actually medaled in it, which was very amazing. Boom Lever, if I can just go get it real quick, because it's hiding. This is one of the Boom Levers that we built. There were a couple others, because there were 3 teams that we had. It's very light. It's only 13 grams. The challenge behind it was that it had to held up about 33 pounds. And we actually managed to get it, and this was one of the ones that we placed second place. We also had some others medal in the top 10 as well. All of them did. Science Olympiad is very fun. It makes a lot of people make lifelong friends in it. It's very big community, very fun community, and it's an amazing club. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Jay New, and I'm an 8th grader at Science Olympiad. This is my 3rd year. I am thrilled to compete at Science Olympiad state competition once again. Over the past years, I've competed in events such as water quality, potions and poisons, road scholar, scrambler, helicopter, and machines. Science Olympiad has helped me learn more about interesting topics, work hard in a limited amount of time, and problem solve when a setback occurs. Science Olympiad is very important because it gives students learning opportunities and challenges that are not present during our daily classes. I became friends or worked with many prodigious students. As we head to state competition, we will continue to work hard and strive. I'd like to thank our coaches, parents, and the board for supporting us. Wish us luck during states. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ragini Kalani, and I'm in 8th grade, and I've been a part of Science Olympiad for the past 2 years. In my first year, I competed in an academic event called Codebusters, and this year I participated in 2 academic events called Circle Lab and Codebusters, as well as a build event called Boom Liver. Science Olympiad is hard and challenging, as our president Hudson said, but it's also one of my favorite things to do after school because I know I have meeting with my friends to look forward to, as well as figuring out problems and finding out how we win at states. Science Olympiad has meant a lot to me personally because it's helped me gain my confidence and it's helped me find my place. Being part of the team feels like being part of a family where everybody supports one another and we learn and grow together. When something doesn't work, we collaborate solutions and we work together to improve. Science Olympiads taught me the value of teamwork, perseverance, and curiosity, and it's helped me become a better learner and a more confident person. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my teachers, the Board of Education, the Eastchester School Foundation, and everybody who supported us to make this amazing club possible. Thank you.
Go ahead, one more.
Hi, my name is Vyom Puranik, and I'm a 7th grader at Eastchester Middle School. I'm the vice president of the Science Olympiad Club, and I competed in 2 events, as well as helping one of our build events, Scrambler. Science Olympiad is more than just some events. You learn a lot from it, and it's a very important experience in my personal experience. Mr. Boisnaw would say one important thing when we would beg him to help us. He would say that this is not Mr. B Olympiad, this is Science Olympiad. At first, we were confused, like, why aren't you doing it for us? But as we slowly worked through each problem, we realized that he was doing this so that we'd learn more and that even if we didn't medal, we'd still feel proud of us. Like, we built this thing, and it's really cool. However, we can't get to states just because of Mr. Boisnaw. So I'd like to thank all of the academic teachers for helping us. They pushed us through our notes, and they helped us look at our resources when we didn't understand what the words meant. However, even these people couldn't help us get to states as well. I'd like to thank the Board of Education as well for financing our trips and even getting us to states. I'd also like to pitch a special appreciation to Ms. LeBeau and Mr. Carroll for helping us and cheering us on when we were a bit confused. Every time while we were practicing in our hallway and they'd walk by, they'd always remind us that they're very proud of us and that they want us to do our very best. Because of Science Olympiad, I learned lots of things that school can't teach. I learned perseverance, hard work, and resilience always pays off in the end, and that pushing yourself to your limits is the best way to go. Thank you.
I couldn't have said it all better than the team. I just want to thank again Dr. Villanueva for your support, the Board of Education. This is our 3rd year running, and proudly we're making it once again to the state competition. These students, as Vyom said, they're working for hours after school testing all of their projects. And thank you to the coaches, of course, Tom Boisano, Daniela Laurie, Elizabeth Bruni, Matthew Pohemus. They are as enthusiastic as the students, making this an overall learning yet fun experience. So thank you for taking EMS, putting us on the map. We appreciate you, we acknowledge you, and we're very proud of you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sweating. Here we go. But what else is there? I would sleep with my windows open. Thank you so much.
I love that. It's not the Mr. Beal yet. Thank you so much. How wonderful. This is exactly what Eastchester is all about. One more piece for my report. I'd just like to give a shout out to our athletic department. I think I see Mr. Rimponi sitting in the audience there. We had a wonderful fall season. I know that you had a presentation in December, a great kickoff to our winter season, and now we are full-fledged well into the spring season. I believe it is now just about the 1-year anniversary of Mr. Ramponi, and so we are now getting started on a number of committee building opportunities where we are inviting our community of Eastchester to come on out and sit on things like hiring committees, mission and vision setting committees, things where we're going to be looking at handbooks and such. And so I want to thank not only Mr. Ramponi, but also Mr. Welsh and our high school administrative team and all of our coaches for doing the good work of putting many voices and many hands together so that we can start to pre-plan now for the 26-27 academic school year. All right, we are now underway for the superintendent's proposed budget for FY 26 and 27. Board members, you have a blue packet in front of you, and inside there you will see a copy of the presentation as well as some budget line items. Tonight is kind of a large overview, and then over the next couple of weeks, if there are questions and such, you can certainly send them over to my office, and we will prepare for when you can come to adopt the budget on April 21st, 2026. I'll begin by thanking our Board of Education, who sits around the dais this evening, for all of the work that you do day in, day out as volunteers. You don't get paid for this work. And for the very nuanced, detailed look that you take at all of the things in our district that impact policy, impact our fiscal responsibilities, and all of the things that we do to make this district the best place it can be. I'd also like to provide some acknowledgments to our administrative team. I see many of them sitting in our audience tonight, and also our administrators sitting around the table up here at the cabinet, and of course our district clerk, Ms. Lori Parada. This is the team that leads each one of our buildings. This is the team that the spark of change in our school district, and also the same team that oversees and cares for all of the children in our district. So I want to thank you for showing up every day, for always having a smile on your face, for working with me to get through the details of a complex problem when we face it, and for always looking to move your building to the next level. Our vision. I came into the district in July, and we did some work on revamping a vision, and I had first used the phrase, we're trying on a new jacket, and we're going to see if it sticks and if it fits. And now here we are now in April, and I think the vision is sticking and it's fitting, and the jacket feels good. So the phrase is 4 campuses, 4 pillars, 1 vision. We are here to elevate Eastchester. And I want to take those words very seriously, because those words, elevate Eastchester, already started before I even arrived here as your new superintendent. The amount of work, the amount of focus that was happening here in Eastchester to make our programs excel, to see our building facilities change, to see the footprint of our classrooms morph into contemporary innovative learning spaces, to see our technology just in general across the district move into the 21st century. It has been amazing. And so it is my absolute privilege to continue that momentum. Looking at the experience of our students, we are always contemplating the state of art the state of the art instruction and what that looks like in the classroom. We're always looking at space because we know now that the classroom is not the only place where we learn. You saw the Science Olympiad team here this evening. They are working on things in and outside of the school buildings, out there in the world, building things that we will see, I'm sure, out in the real world that will be built and that we will be working in soon enough. So space is very important. In addition, we have such a focus on our student wellness and health, and of course, our community. It's not just about the partnerships that we have with our very, very involved community, but it's also the civic roles that we take as citizens and what we give back to our community. So our vision, like I said, it seems to be sticking, and I'm very proud of it, and I really do think that everything that we're doing is focusing in on these 4 pillars. I do want to just make a plug. The budget process takes on quite some time throughout the year. So as we move through meetings, it's, not everybody can always attend everything. So we put it up onto the main district website. If you head over to eufsdk12.org, there is a button right on the main page there that looks like the button there on the left. And if you click it, you can see all of the presentations that have taken place at board meetings, talking about technology, about the high school, about just school finance and the tax levy, special education, and curriculum and technology as well. The reason we do multiple presentations leading up to this evening is because if we were to highlight and celebrate all the good work tonight, we would be here until midnight. And so please do click into the presentations from previous, because there's so much to celebrate, so much work that has been done in this district, and that's exactly why we are here to talk about what our budget is going to be next year. So here's a theme: building capacity and stabilizing structures to keep momentum. Perhaps it's a universal theme in any complex organization, but it's one that's super important. We are in the business of people. We educate people, and so we have many educators. The largest portion of our budget is spent on salaries and benefits, and that means that not only building capacity of our adults, but building capacity of our students is our #1 priority. In addition, stabilizing structures, meaning it doesn't just happen for 1 year. We know that when we are deeply learning something authentically and meaningfully, we are ultimately learning it year over year and becoming more in-depth and more knowledgeable about it. So we want to make sure that we have stabilizing structures that continue to sustain us in the work that we do. And then, of course, keeping momentum. I think you've heard me say this before, but staying stagnant is our enemy. We want to make sure that we're always making progress and putting one step in front of the other to move us forward. Building a budget requires some guidance, and it requires some effort. And guidance is important because it's important that I hear the voice of our community and also hear the voice of our Board of Education and also our students and families. I do hear that we like to maintain the student experience with reasonable class sizes. I do also hear that it's really important that we provide and we move all of our existing curricular programs forward. Again, no stagnancy. I also hear that we want to maintain and propel our student experiences from year to year. We don't want to just be doing the same thing over and over again. We want those special experiences for our students. This is why people come to Eastchester, because we provide elevated opportunities. We also want to continue efforts to innovate and elevate all that we do in the district, and make sure also that we are very fiscally responsible, that we ensure those efficiencies while producing effective academic results. And of course, in just fiscal matters, we want to ensure that revenues always equal expenditures, and we balance out. You've also seen this very simple image: student, teacher, content, and at the core of that is the task. That is ultimately what we are here for. We have this wonderful, beautiful luxury to be with our students for more than 6 hours a day, every day. And they have to be here because they have to go to school. And so we are very lucky as adults to be able to have that time. And that means we better be doing the best we possibly can in those classrooms, the best we possibly can in our schools, the best we possibly can on the athletic fields out there in our school community. And so all of our fiscal resources, all of our fiscal priorities, all of our fiscal decisions should be going to support this instructional core. Our Board of Education goals and strategic priorities, this has also been updated since last year. They're simple yet complex in order to achieve. So things of improving service relationships and student achievement with a responsive, clear, and inclusive communication is very important. Those embedded within it are strategic priorities 3 and strategic priorities 5. Also, continually enhancing teaching and extended learning with research-based and innovative practices. Again, always wanting to be contemporary and innovative. So looking at that capacity building. Of course, enacting trustworthy stewardship of all district resources to support safe and healthy environments and optimizing student learning. Strengthening school security, always, always on our mind. And of course, unmet facility needs. One step at a time, we want to make sure that our buildings are living up to what we want them to do for our students and families. So as we move into now the numbers, we have some significant budget drivers that are impacting our budget this year. Right off the top, straight out of the gate this year, we were notified that we have a decrease of about $1 million in state aid for the upcoming academic year. So if you can imagine a budget, even if we didn't do anything to it, we're already starting $1 million below. So that is something that we had to figure out how to absorb. In addition to that, again, we're in the people business. We have some contractual increases in salaries and benefits, but we are beholden to health insurance vendors and insurance vendors outside that give us what their percentage increase is. And so this year we are looking at an 8.75% increase in health insurance, which is fairly high. And of course, utility costs are also going up depending on what's happening in the world. And we have some high increases in liability insurance as well. Special education is a department that is near and dear to our heart, and we hold very, very with high esteem here in the district. We do a great job with it. However, it's important to note that the special education department budget is often one of our most volatile. And that's because there is federal mandated requirements that we have to live and abide by. And of course, we are proud to service our families with special education needs, but we also cannot always project unanticipated students who then become part of our community. We certainly account for all the students that we know of and that we can put on our roster, but just this past year, we had 22 additional unanticipated students that were not on our radar come to the Eastchester community, and so that is something that is impacting our budget. And again, with special education, not only is that programmatic cost, but that's also specialty transportation. Sometimes that's medical transport, sometimes it's transport further than our usual boundaries, and so there's cost there. In addition to that, transportation for in-district general education students, also there was a fairly steep increase as well. It went from 11%, and then now year over year, we're looking at about 3.75%. So with that, tonight you will also see my suggestion on moving from a 2-tier to a 3-tier model for transportation. This will allow us to make a fairly significant reduction in our bus fleet, and I'm happy to talk through that tonight. We also have some anticipation in drops in interest rate returns. Last year we were able to benefit from fairly good interest rates, but with all that's happening in the world right now, interest rates are on the decline, so we shall see where that lands. So there's some volatility there as well. We are always looking at cost containment, and so I just would like to make sure that the community is aware that we are going to do our due diligence and take a good review of special and general education staffing. We will be taking a look at a couple of organizations out there that offer special education audit services so that we can take a look at our programming and make sure that we're not only effective but also financially sustainable for the future. Sometimes we have a slew of retirements in a year, and sometimes we have very few. This happens to be a year where we have very few, and so attrition is a little more limited than in years past, and so some of the sometimes budget pieces that move there are not moving as much this year. Our projected enrollment, which you'll hear about later this evening, is also remaining pretty much status quo with give or take a handful of students. And again, before I even come to the table to present a budget, I would like our Board of Education and our community to know that the Cabinet and I do the hard work of looking for efficiencies before even presenting. And so right out the gate, we have already taken a scalpel and made some reductions and found some efficiencies in the amount of upwards of $1.9 million to help mitigate these increasing costs. So this is just in kind of table form, what I was sharing with you in the previous slides. Again, that state aid is decreasing, foundational aid is pretty much flat, and then you'll see increases across most. This is not all of the increases and decreases, however, I wanted to just share some of the select lines there. So the proposed 26-27 real property taxes with STAR would move from $83,593,100 to $89,737,193. That is just a little over $6 million of an increase, which is a 7.35% tax levy. Our current tax levy, as of two presentations ago, was 2.35%. I am proposing to the Board of Education to consider a levy of 5.0% over the allowable levy limit. I will explain where and why, and I think that that is necessary for our district at this time. Immediately, and this is at least how my mind works, when I see a tax levy go out there, I want to know how that's going to impact me. We've been working with the Town Assessor's Office, and we try to find the most recent assessment on homes in the Eastchester community. This is an illustration based on the current average home price in Eastchester, which is about $940,000. Of course, please know that this is an illustration for that assessment. If you have a home that is less, this tax levy amount month to month would be less, and if you have a home that is more, it could be a little bit more. But essentially, if we were to go with a 7.35% tax levy, you would have about an $84.46 additional dollars a month in tax based on where we are. That is a 7.13% change from year to year. Estimated revenue coming in from this year, we have our local tax levy, and as you can see, we are staying pretty flat. We have 76% of it coming from our community. We are considered a community with a high wealth ratio, and so that often means that we don't get as much state aid or foundational aid as other districts who don't have as high wealth levels, and so much does go back onto the taxpayer's shoulders, but we are in line with last year. In addition, our foundation aid, we will receive a 1% Save Harmless increase, which makes up about 9.75% of our whole district budget. That is an area that we continue to advocate for as a Board of Education and as a superintendent's group to see legislators try to move that needle. 1% is a drop in the bucket when it looks at a budget of this magnitude. It's just about $100,000 or so. And again, at the start, I mentioned that the state was bringing our aid down by about $1 million straight out the gate. We do also receive state aid runs, and we're projecting just about under $6 million, and that's about 5% of the total budget. This next grade outline, I am drawing our eyes to it. I want to thank our business department. As soon as we heard so much was going to be taken from our district and where we were with all of the prices and inflation, I know that our business department has been doing a tremendous amount of advocacy for us through BOCES and through the state. And so we were able to do, this is not an ongoing year over year, but we have some reimbursements that will be sent back to us for about 1.9% of the total district budget. And so I thank our business department for that. We will also be gaining some revenue from our appropriated fund balance. This year we will put $1,740,000 towards our budget, and that's about 1.48% of the total budget. And then finally, we do have revenues that we do see an increase from last year. Those are tuition revenues potentially for our specialty programs and special education. Also, we have some interest, gifts, county tax, and transfer from debt. All in all, it would be a total budget of $117,729,119. And there that is just in list form. We do anticipate our expenses to also stay in line to what it was last year. In our three large buckets, administrative, capital, and program, we are staying at about 7.8% in administrative costs and about 15.5% in capital costs, and a little bit of an increase in the percentage, but a fairly large increase in the program. You can see that the majority of the dollar increase in this budget is all going towards programs. So we're looking at just about $6.8 million in a dollar increase, and you'll see here in the program area, we're moving from 84 million to 90 million next year. That is going all back into our schools. That is very, very important. That services our special education programs. It continues our current programs to move forward without any stalemate or stagnancy. And it also allows us to continue the next phase of some of the projects that we started. Our enrollment, as mentioned, is staying steady. So last year we had a total enrollment of 2,962 students. Next year we anticipate about 2,967 students, so we have an additional of 5. So we have a fairly flat enrollment. We are due for the next 5 to 10 year demographic study, so we'll engage our demographers next year to do that study. And we anticipate that our enrollment will probably stay steady or start to increase. In the last 5 to 10 years, looking backwards, we were actually on a slight decline in enrollment, but we are upticking again. I also want to plug that potentially our enrollment is going up again because we are offering some pretty magnificent opportunities here in the district. There has been so much work that has happened in the last 3 years in terms of just what we offer at the elementary school in literacy, mathematics, science, even social sciences, and just even athletics. And at the high school, our course catalog has expanded and we offer so many APs now. I know that many families who are looking to move into Eastchester are very proud of attending our schools. And so as our enrollment slowly upticks, it could very well be because of birth rates in kindergarten, but it could also be very well that they're come to our schools. Okay, so talking about a 2-tier versus a 3-tier bus model. So currently right now we have 18 yellow buses that we contract through First Student. This proposal is a reduction of 4 large yellow buses, so that would then reduce our fleet to 14 large yellow buses. One of the buses would be reassigned to Waverly and one would be reassigned to Ann Hutch and Greenville. There would also be a change in school hours so that there would now be a 3rd tier to school hours. So your high school and middle school in the 1st tier, and Hutch and Greenville in the 2nd tier, and then Waverly, our early elementary, in the 3rd tier. This allows families with multiple children in multiple buildings, if they are not taking a bus but doing pickup, enough time to transition from one building to the other. We heard lots of feedback this year that it was very difficult for families with children in 2 different buildings to get from one place to the other. In addition to that, it also tries to maintain the duration students sits on buses and also the distance that they're traveling on buses. We anticipate that with this 4 bus reduction, we can capture about a $400,000 reduction here. You'll see a different number for just the buses, but the $400,000 would bake in some of the other costs that come along with our First Student contract. Whoops. In addition to this, by reducing those 4 buses in the 1st tier, we will also be a little more responsive to the current ridership right now at the high school and middle school levels. So we took a poll and just stats of just what our ridership looks like. That means how many students are actually on the bus during those very first tiers. We don't fill a bus. At the high school and middle school sections, we really range from the lowest of 18% capacity of a bus upwards of about 59%. So we're certainly not filling a bus. By the time you get to Ann Hutch, Greenville, and Waverly, we are now filling buses. And that's why reassigning the additional buses to come down to those tiers will help alleviate some of the space on some of the more full buses there. In addition, we will be able to continue to have late runs. We have students who stay after school, and we can also have 2 buses that will be dedicated to athletics. Right now, sometimes our athletic teams have to wait quite late before they can actually go out to an event or a contest. because they're waiting for all the runs to end and then for finally a bus to show up. So if we can have 2 buses that are dedicated to athletics, then what that allows for is them to head off district property sooner than later. And so there is that, just kind of in list form. I want to thank Ms. Christine Reichard, our transportation coordinator, who has worked very carefully with First Student for doing an in-depth route analysis, as well as just making sure that all of our students aren't going to be staying on these buses for too long, and of course for working with our student families to make adjustments here and there to help our families out. Ms. Reichard is very responsive, and at all hours of the day, particularly at arrival and dismissal, early in the morning and late in the afternoon, she is there to help make sure that our students get from door to door safely. So again, here is the cost saving for buses only. We look at about $360,993. But again, year over year, that impact compounding, we are looking at a pretty significant amount of money saved. We have some pretty important fiscal goals moving forward as a district. You can see that I'm proposing a 7.35% tax levy. That is above our allowable tax levy limit. And in order to just reflect on where we've been, I want to say a few important things as we're on the fiscal goals chart. When I do my historical analysis, Eastchester as a district has for the past 10 years been extremely fiscally conservative. We have either only gone up to the tax levy, which in itself, we know that the levy cap is less than inflation often and is an artificial cap. It keeps districts very, very low. It's a hardship on districts, but it was implemented when it was, and so we abide by it. So for the last 10 years, Eastchester has either only gone up to the tax levy, come in under the levy, meaning has not even taken all of the dollars potentially provided for the school district, or have taken a 0%. And as you know, taking a 0% sometimes can have will have compounding effects years moving forward. So with that being said, for 10 years, having that fiscal austerity, I will use that word, has been wonderful for the community. However, at some point, when you're keeping something that low, and I know that you don't see a slide moving, but you'll see my arm, when you're keeping something that low, but the actual inflation and the cost of educating a child continue to rise, the space between my arms is only growing. And at one point, the bottom line has to eke up, or it has to rise. The boats need to rise that tide, or else the camel's back is going to break. So I do think that we are in a year where we're at a tipping point, and that as a Board of Education and as your superintendent, I make this recommendation that we kind of right the ship here so that we can have that bottom line rise so that we can continue the good work moving forward. Once we are in a position to have a little bit more sustainability in the future, then there are things that we want to focus in on. We want to make sure that we continue to maximize tuition revenue particularly. We want to look at the scale of our continuum of services, see if we can scale up, see if we need to scale down, see if we need to scale out. We also want to capitalize on interest, and that means having a good, strong reserve is really important, and so we're going to focus in on that. And without impacting programs, that's a really important phrase. I don't believe any of our educators or any of our families in this Eastchester community, from what I hear, would like to see programs cut or would like to see our programs go down in any way. Without impacting programs, I would like us to find efficiencies across all departments with a scalpel. Because, again, if you remember my very first few slides, that those 3 yellow circles, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do in education. We're here for the student, the teacher, and that experience in the classroom. Everything else, kids don't come to school to worry about budgets. Kids come to school to go to school, and that's what we're here to provide for them. I also do think a fiscal goal moving forward is for us to continue capital on absorbing attrition and to reframe our organizational structures when we can. And by building internal capacity, which you're going to see in a couple of slides here, we want to start to reduce some reliance on outside vendors, which can sometimes come at a cost premium. So again, the request and proposal here is for a total budget of $117,729,119, a little over, or just $6,814,621 in dollar increases, the allowable levy being 2.35%, and my proposal at a 7.35%. Again, if you have not keyed into some of the previous presentations, tonight, I love pictures, but I don't have that many pictures in here. The good work that we highlight from all of our schools, please go to our website and click into those previous presentations, because it shows all of the wonderful work our students and our teachers and administrators are doing in their buildings. And really, it's really something to celebrate. Extended school year. So you may think that school ends June 30th and everybody's off for summer vacay, but not really. We keep on going. So in the summertime, we have extended school year for our student, special education students, but we also host a whole number of summer school opportunities for our students in the middle and high school level. In addition, we are elevating that experience about just getting ready for college acceptance as well. So you'll see things like the college essay writing boot camp this summer, SAT preparation boot camp. We have athletics conditioning going on, all sorts of things. Algebra Bridge is going to be something that's new, and we have some things that we're revamping in terms of the other maths and sciences. And then this summer for faculty and staff, and here's the capacity building, we are leveraging those summer days for some internally led professional learning for our faculty and staff. We have a 5-day workshop titled High Quality Instruction and Curriculum Writing. We have the IDE cohort workshop, which is specific to the high school. We have restorative practices cohort that will come together this summer, and we are also inviting those who will be teaching APs or are looking to get their certification kind of updated to go out to those instructor workshop. And also, artificial intelligence has been a big thing, and so we have some of that work happening this summer as well. So again, it's year-round for us. We're so proud of it, and we are able to do all these things because we are elevating that experience here in Eastchester. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 21st, and that is where our board will have a little bit more deliberation, and then we'll look to taking an action to adopt a budget. Between now and then, I encourage our community, as well as our educators and administrators, to ask questions, to engage. There will be some more frequently asked questions populated on the district website button. Where's Mr. Blute? Oh, Mr. Blute has a nice video made for us, and that's going to go out very soon. PTAs, I know that you've probably already connected with Ms. Parada, but I am so excited to be hosting my Lunch and Learns very soon, and hosting some of our other organizations in the community to come on out and hear about the budget and talk about the good work of our district. So that will be starting next week, and for the remainder of the month of April and moving into May. And so all of that, just getting the word out about the budget is very important. And then, of course, May 19th is our budget vote. So I'll pause there, and if there are some questions, I would be happy to discuss them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Villanueva. We appreciate the presentation. So I'd like to kind of go around, I think. So Rob, why don't I start with you, just in terms of any questions that you may have, and we'll kind of work our way this way, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dr. V. I know how much work that the team has put into that. I think it would be helpful, maybe just for context, it might have been in your previous presentations, right? But just now that we see the whole proposal, what does a budget of just going to the cap mean, right? I think it's roughly $2.5 million or so. So just to contextualize that for me, but for the community as well, that the state takes $1 million away. Even if we just went to the cap, it's going to take $1 million of that to replenish what the state takes away. And that doesn't include anything else on just the cost of doing business, so to speak, of increases like you've outlined. So if we were to just do that, I think drilling down a little bit so we understand just what that would mean for the district, because I'm in the point of seeing all this and digesting it and understanding the past presentations, like you have to go above the cap or else there's going to be significant cuts. And so contextualize that just a little bit more as to what that would really mean for for the district, I think would be helpful.
Absolutely. And I, as we prepare for April 21st, I think I can put this into an image as well. So the allowable tax levy is 2.35%. That means our last appropriated tax levy was about $83 million. To have a 2.35% tax levy, that means we are essentially saying we have about 1.9 additional dollars to move from one year to the other. Now, as you heard, the state right out the gate took $1 million and just is not giving it to us. So that means we fill that hole. So of the 1.9 we have now, million's already taken up because we just have to fill a hole. Then you have $900,000 remaining, and that's supposed to take your entire district budget to cover everything. That does not include any of the inflation increases that you saw there when it comes to health insurance and such, or any of the contractual increases for any of the bargaining groups in our district, and also just costs that it takes to run programs and things. So if we were to go to a 2.35% levy, based on my flat rollover contractual increases only and keeping things as low as possible, I would probably have to cut about $4.8 or $9 million. And that may not sound like a huge number, but $4.9 million in terms of people, I would say would equate to just about 30 educators, ranging from positions. Now, I would consider that in a school district a decimation. Like 30 people is a lot of people. So my proposal tonight is understanding contextually that for the last 10 years, it has been so low or just at or at a zero that the district has actually been absorbing whatever has not been able to be taken care of by that tax levy in its own way by making cuts or doing whatever it needed to do or.
But also moving things forward and adding, right? So I
And
think
also
there's-
doing that, yes.
I think there's that double side of being fiscally conservative and managing that, but to this vision of elevating Eastchester is important to point out. And I think I know I cut you off, sorry, but
Not at all.
when you say people, I don't know, does everyone understand what that means, right? You reduce staff, that means class sizes go up. That means what else outside of class sizes? Is it humanities type related class sizes? Is there something you could, I know you don't have the specifics, but prepared. But
Absolutely.
anything further to
And I don't
add
mean
to
to say the word people so lightly.
Right.
But when you look at a number that's so large, like 4.8 or $4.9 million, there's only so much that me and the team can do by going and saying, okay, well, we're going to buy a little less paper this year, or we're going to buy fewer pencils, or, you know what, maybe we'll save on not buying all of the paint this time around. That will capture hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it won't capture in the millions. So when it comes to people, that's typically what happens. If you have 5 sections, but you take a person out, you now have 4 sections. But the children are still existent, and so you have to spread them out across fewer sections is what happens. So that certainly can impact class sizes. Or another impact can also be if you have certain programs that are run by people, maybe a program doesn't run anymore because that person is no longer in that position. But again, I'm proposing tonight a levy that is higher than 2.35, which is the allowable levy, so that we don't have to do that.
I may have another question, but I'll let someone else ask a question.
Yeah, you could leave it on. Thank you for that. So, obviously, just taking a look at this at first glance, it's a high number, right? And I think community members in Eastchester have enjoyed for many years having a very low tax levy or zero. So it's kind of a whoa moment.
Sure.
And obviously the spirit of what we tried to accomplish here, and I think this is where you're going with this, is to keep class sizes intact, focus on the students, keep things moving forward. When I look at this and I look at the numbers you presented about the per household cost on a monthly basis, what I would like to see, especially for the senior citizens in our community,
Great idea.
what it would look like for other house values, and if we could kind of see that on a chart, only because I want to understand the impact on them as well. Because obviously we're focusing not only just on the students and the parents that are in the district, but I want to focus on everybody. So that would be something that I would like to see for sure.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion. I can certainly prepare that slide for the 21st, because you're absolutely right. Not everybody has a home that is worth $940,000, particularly if you're retired, you're on a fixed income, your children have left, and it's just you and your partner at this point. So I can certainly do that. Right now, looking at that $940,000 assessed home at that additional $84 a month, it would essentially just bring the number down if the home is not worth that much. So whether it's $50 or $40 or $30 a month, that would be the additional monthly cost. I suppose a great way to also think of that is, you know, is that $30 or $40 or $50 or even that $84 a month worth keeping all of this wonderful work continuing to move forward? And I know that it's a high levy, like you said. It's been a long time where we've benefited from low ones. But at $84 a month, I know that that can be a hardship on some families, but so much comes with that. So much comes with that.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Villanueva. Just in terms of how you arrived at that 7.35 number, is it when you're building a budget, are you starting at a higher number and whittling it down, or how did you arrive at that number? I'm just a little curious.
That's great. Thank you for asking. And in one of the beginning slides, you saw that we had found some efficiencies already, upwards of $1.9 million. So the way the budget process begins is we take last year's budget. We do a hybrid of zero-based budgeting as well as just knowing what our costs are from last year that we will definitely have this year. We try our best not to just do a rollover budget where you just roll everything over and you put an increase on it. Zero-based also means you have to justify what it is that you're asking for, and you have to rationalize why you need it. And so there's lots of discussions that happen with Ms. Carlin, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Facilities. And so we have things flat. We have our contractual increases that are known because they're contracts. We apply those. Then we receive vendor increases. And then we work with our buildings where we talk about what are absolute necessities, what are things that you need to push the program forward. And so we actually did come in much higher. So now I'm going to totally blow the socks off. We were upwards of almost 10%. And I thought, my goodness, this is just way too much. So we whittled and we whittled and we whittled down to a point where we knew that we didn't want to impact programs. So I do want to thank our administrative team. I do want to thank our cabinet for being able to look at things and say, well, I can pause on that. Or you know what, I can delay this and I can eliminate that for now. Or this is an efficiency that I'm going to learn myself or the team is going to do now and we're not going to go outside to a vendor for. And so all of that work happens prior to me presenting to you this evening. That's why you will also see through the presentations on the website, you might see some elevated numbers in some departments because those might have been those nice to ask for. And since those presentations have been had, we may have made further reductions in them to get to where we are this evening. And again, it's not just me that makes the decision. I talk to all the stakeholders, all the departments, because they're the ones who are living and doing the work in those departments.
Thank you, Dr. B, for your presentation.
Thank you, Lori.
I know our priority remains maintaining current class sizes and continuing to support the quality of education for our students. Is this situation unique to Eastchester, or are there other districts going above the cap?
Fabulous question. So no, it's not unique to us. Interestingly, fiscal matters do not discriminate. So, we are actually not the first district to look at going higher than the assessed tax levy at this time. Just in the last 2 years, we've had districts in our region, districts like Mamaroneck, Harrison, Rice City, Scarsdale even Scarsdale, who have all gone above that tax levy. Because again, that artificial cap has kept it so low. It is essentially an artificial cap. It only lasts for so long. This year as well, I'm already hearing that some of our neighboring districts that I'm sure many of you are familiar with have already broken their tax levy as well, so we are not the first to go out. And people who didn't go above the tax levy this year are doing some pretty extensive reductions in their faculty and employees. That is something that I'm not sure how much we are willing to do that at this point in time. I think we have some areas where there's natural attrition that occurs, but I don't think we're looking to make sweeping reductions here and there because it will impact our programs. So those districts who did not go out this year to break that cap, I do think they're having some very, very difficult discussions. And I anticipate next year, they will most likely have to break a cap because you can only sustain for so long until that cap pushes you back up again. And again, kudos to you for 10 years of never going over the cap. It's a long time.
Thank you, Dr. V. Don't really have a question, but I did want to make a comment. I know that we have enjoyed staying below the tax cap for many years. And I think none of us want our taxes to go up. We're all taxpayers here. But I think about approximately $84 a month, and not cutting programming, not cutting the good work that's been going on, not cutting staff. I think that's really important, and if we don't go to the 7%, what we stand to lose is very concerning in terms of class size and staff and all the good programming that we've done. So I just wanted to comment that I know, not to downplay $84 a month, that's a lot of money, but like for a family of 5, I know if we order takeout one night, it's more than $84. So just to kind of put that in perspective, that for me, $84 a month to keep all of this is worth it.
It's worth it. Yep.
Thank you. So I'm very mixed emotions. I definitely think the initial 7% is a shock. I think we've all been spoiled, I guess I would say, with not going above the cap for so many years. And to just think about all of the things that we've done during that time and have stayed below. And I know that we've spent many hours in finance meetings trying to be very fiscally responsible. In order to do that was a lot of hard work for the last few years that I've been part of it. So I just appreciate very much that there's a lot that goes into doing and improving and elevating Eastchester and adding programming. And on the other side of it, going up so high and not adding anything this year is also hard to swallow. But I totally understand it has to cap someplace. I guess my question is just around the state aid numbers. I think the reason that's probably impacting us so much, I think in a previous presentation you highlighted how much we are reliant on taxpayer dollars compared to some other districts. So curious as to other districts that are feeling the pain and what they've lost and where they're sort of landing with their increase. I know that you've mentioned others have cuts. But I think it's important to understand exactly how much we are feeling that, perhaps more than other districts.
There's a lot to unpack there because I think every district is a little different, and every district goes about it in a different way. But I think one thing that is consistent is that when your numbers go above a certain amount that you need to find, it goes to the people. And so I do think neighboring districts who have had to either pierce the cap or to keep it super low have had to either lay off or to reduce positions and just capture attrition and not replace, which is always something difficult to do. In terms of state aid and foundation aid, I mean, it's somewhat relative, obviously. But we, again, you saw that chart there, our foundation aid is about 9.75% of our total budget. And again, we are 3,000 students in this district, but we have some districts who upwards of 70% can be their foundation aid, even if they are larger than us. But if that bulk of your district budget can be covered by aid, that's a wonderful gift to the taxpayer. But because our wealth experience is much higher here in Eastchester and neighboring places like Bronxville and Scarsdale, and I don't mean to bring them in here too, we do end up relying on that public taxpayer very much.
All right, so pointing out anything we add and all the elevating we are doing in our district and programs we're adding eventually hits us to pay for.
To some extent, yes. And I do think we have some opportunities, though, to build our program so that we can generate revenue as well, because I think that revenue will help offset what goes to the public taxpayer. And then also looking at healthy reserves and capitalizing on interest and things of that nature. That's another way that we can offset some of that. Also, you know, there are things like growth factor and such that I did not talk about tonight. But if suddenly Eastchester has a boom in growth in the economy and we have lots of businesses that come out, that's something that we also benefit from as well. That hasn't happened. We're pretty built out here in Eastchester, but you never know. Maybe some great line of more restaurants show up or something like that.
Yeah, I think what may be helpful for the next meeting along the lines of just everything that we've done would be to see everything that we have elevated to do. So the additional programs, the FLES, the additional APs. I think showing where all of our investment has gone over the past few years that we've benefited from without having this high increase, I think would be really helpful for able to understand, to your point of the fact that it's all going into programs, highlighting what those are and what we're getting out of that, I think would be really helpful to see.
Great, thank you.
And just before I pass it over to Christy, I don't have a question, but something that you just said, Jill, really stuck with me. Mixed emotions is a really good way to put it, because I think, speaking on just behalf of myself, seeing 7%, that's a very large increase. And I think the bucket of cold water for me, which those of you that listen in and participate at these meetings know that several weeks ago we started to talk about the state and how the state was reducing the amount of money that we received to the tune of about $1 million. That is not for lack of advocacy on behalf of our cabinet, our superintendent, and this board. To one of the questions around surrounding districts, we've pleaded the case to Shelley Mayer, we've pleaded the case to Amy Paulin, and they have been extremely receptive to the plight of this, because it does not just impact us, it impacts surrounding districts. And frankly, they said, you know, it is time to appeal to the governor's office and to really speak to the governor's office about this and how that budget is coming down from the state. So what I would say is, no one takes this lightly, and all of the good work that has been done, and I love the idea of highlighting all of that. We don't want to go backwards on any of the good work that we did. And what I would say, and I see some people here in the audience through their own advocacy and what they've done, they've advocated for this district somewhat tirelessly, and I would say to you, please continue to do that, whether that's reaching out to our local government officials, reaching out to the governor's office. Please do that. $1 million to us is a really big deal, and that gets pushed down to the individual taxpayers. I see someone who's spoken at this meeting several times here in the audience this evening, and we're all in the same boat. Every single one of us lives here. We pay taxes here. We don't want our taxes to go up. I know many people feel like taxes are high, as they already are, but we can't continue to incur the increased costs and then have the state short Eastchester on what they've been providing in subsequent years. So, Christy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo the sentiments that I've heard so far, you know, being a parent, community member for 20 plus years at this point, have had 3 children go through the district. I mean, and I think many of you here, fellow trustees, those at home, you know, have heard me say many a time that I wish my kids would go through the school system again because of all the great programs that we've really talked about Elevate, right? Having said that, you know, and I'm going to, you know, Jill, you used the term that we've been spoiled, and it's a great term because we have been spoiled, and you know, it is a tough pill to swallow, and you know, all of the great work that has been done to get us to a point where we are, you know, our students are excelling extremely. We're seeing that in numbers, you know, in terms of test scores and such. What I wanted to clarify with you, when you mentioned, having to try to uncover, 4.8 million, cuts from a budget if we just stayed at the cap, right? And you mentioned, removing, 30 or so educators. I don't want to just say that these would be educators just in the classroom. I look at anyone who interacts with our students are educators. And it could be those that are in the classroom. It could be those that are helping our students as student athletes. It could be our guidance counselors. Anyone, is that what we're talking about here?
We
I mean,
are.
In terms of,
That's right, that's right. I mean, we have multiple bargaining groups. We have many different roles in the school district. And if I were just to take 30 teachers, we would, that's essentially the size of a school.
Yes.
So we would have to essentially look across all of our groups, which is a very difficult thing to do and never one that's, well received.
no, understood. It's it's a lot to digest,
It
that's
is.
for sure. We'll pass it over to Jackie to comment.
Well, most of my questions have been answered, which I guess is what happens when you go last. Just as a comment, I think first, as a parent, I think of the needs of my children and what they have benefited from with programming and academics. And then, I think about friends and neighbors and their children, and then everybody in the audience. We see the students that come each meeting, that we celebrate the programs, where we're sending them off, athletics. So from a high level view, cutting programming, cutting personnel, obviously nobody wants that, but these are, students that have really benefited, and we've done so much in the past few years, and it's just to wrap your head around that, this is all just to maintain, but, we obviously want to keep all of that going, because we see the students thriving with everything that we've been doing in our schools, so we just want to keep up all that good work.
Can I just say one other thing, because it actually resonated, and I think I commented to you, Jackie, with the Olympiads program. It being 3 years, we didn't have that before.
Right.
Like, we haven't had those types of programs here before, so it, potentially would sadden me, to have to go to that level where we would reduce, the investment that we've made in a program like that, and we've done that in other areas as well, not just for the sciences.
That's
too.
right.
So that just, it hit me.
Yeah, every week
Yeah.
we get to see what our students are doing and how they're thriving, and they've never had this before, so
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Rob?
I told you I'd have another question. This is more a comment, but I just want to kind of pinpoint it. I don't think we're talking about all the great programs and how a lot has been introduced and we're elevating. Just to make sure we drive it home, like, the budget isn't increasing solely for that, right? We don't control 8% health insurance increases. We don't
That's right.
control a large component of it. So I don't want it to be lost that we over innovated almost, right? We put too much in. Like, that's not the case, right? There's a healthy balance of moving things forward and doing that. And I think everyone's touching on the fact that you're a parent, you don't want to see those things go away, which I agree with. But there's an underlying component of this budget that costs are out of control, and a lot of them are out of our control to even manage. So that's a real component of a lot of the increase as well.
That's exactly right, Mr. Krokowski. And if you look at some of the numbers, transportation alone, we're looking at finding a savings of $400,000. But if you look at the cost of it, it was over $2 million. And then when you put an 11% increase on that, that is substantial. When you have benefits for over 400 employees, if maybe more than 400, and you go up 9%, that is quite a substantial increase. And again, 22 unanticipated special education students, we are so happy and proud to serve them, but unanticipated is the key word. If we anticipated it and we knew it, then we would have been ready, we would have been, budgeted for it. But again, unanticipated is the volatility part of it. So you're absolutely right. It's a balance of all. It's a balance of all.
Yeah, and to that point, while I think nobody wants to increase taxes for the sake of increasing taxes, but, you know, Jackie, to your point about keeping us moving forward, continuing the good work that we're doing, it is an investment in your home and in your real estate, right? Effectively,
Absolutely.
you know, keeping the schools where they are makes us more attractive as a community and as a district. So there is that component to this as well. Once again, you know, it's high, but we got to, in this instance, it looks like we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, I always say that a wonderful school district is the epicenter of a community. Families move here for their schools. You know, you go out on a Saturday and you're walking down with the kids to the park, and you're grabbing an ice cream. If you're having a good time in school and you're doing well in school, it's a great day to be walking to the park and having an ice cream. When things aren't going so well and it's a hardship on the family, if you have children of your own, you know how hard it is in the family to see your children struggle. And so I do really believe that Eastchester is the heart of this community, and again, a real flagship and gem for Eastchester.
You know, I'm just going to echo to a degree that the budget is really an investment in our children and our students and their programs. Just sort of thinking back when we were first on the board, we were at the cap, how we utilized that budget to enhance our children with what we had. Something as, you know, minute as, hey, the band uniforms are basically disintegrating. We got that put in place. But speaking in terms of, yes, this is a mixed emotion in terms of this high number, can you please advise the community of what could potentially happen if this does not pass? And I think the community needs to hear that.
The process.
Sure, the
yeah.
process, right. So on May 19th, it's a public vote, and so community members and residents of Eastchester go out to the polls, and ultimately, we want the highest percentage of people to come on out. That is always very important. We can't tell you which way to vote, yay or nay, but just come on out and be an active participant. If the vote passes, then we are good to go, and we start to prepare that budget for the following year and get all of our ducks in a row to kick off. If the budget does not pass, we follow all of the state regulations, and I believe it's about a 30-day turnaround where we then go back out to vote for a second time. And if that one passes, then we're saved by, you know, the tip of our nose. If that one doesn't pass, then we go to something called a contingency budget. And a contingency budget is really a terrible, terrible place to be. That means that, well, actually, Ms. Carlin is here with us tonight. She can probably explain a contingency budget better than I can. But there's deep reductions and freezes there, and it's much, much worse.
So there's a few components of a contingency budget that have to be adhered to, but the main one is that the tax levy has to stay the same as it is in the current year. So we couldn't go to the allowable tax levy, we could have no increase. We have to remove things like all the equipment lines would have to come out of the budget, and there's some other things that would, by necessity and law, will have to come out of the budget. And we can publish those.
Right, so that means that we wouldn't even move to the 2.35% levy. We would stay at a flat zero, remove other things. And so if we were at 2.35 and I was saying that I probably would have to find around that 4.9 million, then I'd be looking for about $7 million to bring us all the way down, and then things are frozen. So no district ever wants to get to a contingency place. So the goal is to obviously have a budget that can be passed in the first go. If not, we get a second try. But again, after that second try, it's kind of a bad situation.
I think that's a good segue into my point. Rob, thank you for highlighting what you highlighted about the unanticipated or the uncontrolled costs, inflation, all that. Because the way I see this is, yes, we have done a lot over the last 10 years. We've always been able to manage adding those for the costs that they incurred, but that was way below what we have in increases that we can't control. And it's almost like I think about everybody likes to redo their kitchen, but nobody wants to put the roof on their house, right? You just don't see it. You don't get to actually feel it and understand and actually get something out of it or pleasure out of it. It's just something you need to do. And I see it this way, right? We just have to absorb these increases And unfortunately, we're not able to benefit from any programs this year. And I shouldn't say that because there's definitely other things that are in here and are continuing to expand. But I think we've done a lot of fiscal responsibility to go through, and your term of using a scalpel to really figure out where we can save and offset some of that. But at the end of the day, in order to offset, what was it, $8 million of increases?
It was
Just from
quite
last year to this year?
It was quite a bit, yes, about that.
That's more than just what we've added.
Right,
Right, so I just wanted to point that out.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, everyone. We are now up to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Christine?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: 6 educational and curriculum and instruction, 7 business recommendations.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Rob? All in favor? Thank you. Future meeting dates: April 21st will be a regular Board of Education meeting, which will be our budget adoption. May 5th will also be a regular Board of Education meeting, which will be our budget hearing. Dr. V had some of those up on the slide. We are now up to comments from the public. So when you come up to the podium, please state your name and your address. Just be mindful when you come up. This section won't be any longer than 30 minutes. Each person has 3 minutes. It's not me being rude. 3 minutes, and please refrain from discussing any particular individual specifically.
My name is Vince Rendy from Water Street. As members of the community, many of us are here tonight that have been directly impacted by the flooding from the high school. I'm here to request answers that this community deserves. We had a community meeting with all the parties. Several of the board here have been present on June 4th, 2024. That's a year and a half ago. The goal was to find solutions on the flooding that persists with the present new swell. Promises were made by Dr. Valenti that have not been kept. Dr. Villanova was informed about the community meeting and the action items that were agreed to. The first email that I wrote was on October 17th, 2025, requesting an update. One of the promises made by Dr. Valenti was having regular meetings and updates. We received one update on March 10th, 2025, from Elliot Shelton. In that letter, he stated, quote, "Have a meeting with the public/neighbors to inform them of the design." The question we pose to Dr. Villanova is, when will we have this community meeting? Are you able to give us an answer?
Unfortunately, not during public comment.
Well, last time when Dr. Valenti was here, he did promise a meeting. The board was present, and they all promised that we were going to have a follow-up meeting. So that's a public information, and the community requires that meeting. So when are you going to respond to that?
Mr. Rundy, if I can, just very, very quickly, I sat in those meetings with you and some of the folks from the town, et cetera, and there are some other issues going on. I believe it's probably best for the district and for yourself to talk about that privately in terms of some of the things that you have going on. This isn't the appropriate forum for that.
But tonight you're asking the taxpayers to pay 7% increase while you're ignoring a community that needs answers. So you try to justify that.
Mr. Randy, what I would say is that some of the meetings that we've had, and every homeowner here is entitled to take whatever avenues, et cetera, to get the resolution that they're looking for. I think you know what I'm referring to.
No, I'm not looking for a resolution.
I understand.
We're just trying to
I understand.
understand what the action item is.
Totally understand.
There is a problem.
We actually hired a clerk of the works who's been in contact with you and some
No,
of the
he hasn't.
neighbors.
No, he's been fired from what I understand.
It's been over time. There hasn't been no meetings, no communication at all.
So is that a problem for not having a meeting after a year and a half?
From our understanding, and I believe it's documented, and again, we can have an offshoot of this. This is not for a public forum. There has been a meeting. It has not been a year and a half since there's been any communication on the issue.
Well, there has been a meeting, but the community has not been invited.
Right. So, Mr. Rendy, as Mr. Finelli mentioned, I'm happy to stay afterwards and to have a conversation with you in person.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to have it with the community.
I'm happy to be
Thank
with
you.
you this evening,
Thank you.
and I can give you next steps.
Lori De La Parra, 28 Claudette Way. And I'd like to speak tonight regarding the budget that was presented. First, let me acknowledge Dr. Villanueva, our new superintendent. She did not create this budget mess. She inherited it from her predecessor and this board. Secondly, we all realize that expenses go up every year. We're all living that reality personally. Our Con Ed bills are up, our gasoline costs are up, our food costs are up. We cannot take on a 7% tax levy increase, especially our senior citizens. And just like our personal household budgets, this district needs to live within their own means. But I'd like to reframe the narrative around this budget, because you can't just point the finger at Albany and the governor. This board has to take responsibility for their actions. New York State is not cutting education funding. The budget is up this year, and foundation budget is also up. So if Eastchester is seeing $1 million reduction, let's be clear about what that is. That's the formula. And we knew for years that that formula was going to be changing. We just didn't plan for it. So a competent board plans for expected changes and challenges, and this board did not. Instead, we've seen spending on non-essential items like digital signs in front of every school building, new baseball dugouts, and $600,000 overage in legal fees this year alone. At a time when the formula was shifting against us, we should have been tightening the belt, not elevating and expanding. And this board went so far as to dip into the reserve fund in a year when you have 2 union contracts being negotiated. By continuing to dip into the reserves, you're putting our bond rating and our district reputation at risk. Additionally, the 0% tax levy you did in 23-24 has had lasting repercussions. And it isn't just about this year's budget shortfall. It's fiscal discipline and long-term planning. And it's not just $1 million gap, it's a nearly $5 million shortfall. That's not Albany's fault. So now drastic decisions do have to be made. Budget cuts, staff reductions, larger class sizes, and taxing above the cap, potentially a combination of all these things. The school board has 2 responsibilities: hire and supervise the superintendent and manage the budget. With respect to the former superintendent and this current budget, you have failed at both of those things. Our students should not have to suffer this failure. Our teachers should not have to absorb it, and the taxpayers should not be stuck footing the bill. So I hope you can really take a hard look at your spending.
If you could
and
please
work.
just finish
I
your
will
comment.
definitely be finishing
Thank
up.
you so much.
Work with Dr. Villanueva, because this budget is likely not going to pass, and Eastchester deserves better than this.
Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, I want to welcome the new superintendent. You got your feet wet. You're in 9 months now, right? Starting July. Welcome aboard. The reason I'm here to speak is about what the gentleman was talking about, but we're going to put that to the side because you said you could talk to him after the meeting. But while I was sitting here you were talking about the budget and all. I've been living in town for 25 years. If I look at my school taxes for the last 25 years, it's averaged about $250, $350, no more than a $500 increase a year. This $84 is $1,008. We never had a $1,000 increase in 1 year, just on the school budget. Now you gotta remember, everything goes up, so you got the school budget, you got the county tax, then some people in town pay an AMT tax, which is an alternative minimum tax. So now you got an AMT tax, and then the STAR program from 25 years ago to now is less than it's ever been. So if you add all those factors, you keep saying $84 a month, it's $1,000 a year. And forget about going out to takeout one night, you ain't going to no takeout because everything is adding up. So just listen to those numbers. $1,000 raise in 1 year. We never had that in 25 years, and I could have those numbers sent to you. I have them home every year. The most was $500. So, like I said, the board is here, they're trying to do what they gotta do. I know we had COVID, that was one excuse. We had the great superintendent who had more years of experience than anybody, and he put us in this situation. And that's done and over with. But to move forward, it's pretty hard to, right off the bat, with a $1,000 increase a year. So hopefully, we'll see how the vote goes. If it don't pass, we'll have the second vote. And if that don't pass, then we'll take it in stride. But again, welcome aboard. Just want to let you know.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment this evening? Please.
My name is Lei Niu, 24 Bronson, and I'm president of the East Chester Chinese Parents Association. And based on my experience, I came from small city in China. We only have 500K people. It's small in China. And when I grew up, when I go to the middle school, you can feel the wind through the wall. We have to use the paper to fill in the gap in the wall. But now you see the China, how they grow up. This not happen anymore. Everybody have a good life. And my school become very beautiful. We have the school field like in the East Chester. So totally different. So I have experience how the things can from normal or poor become real, really beautiful stuff. Okay. Right now the Bitcoin is $70K coin. Let's go back to 10 years ago. If someone asks you, would you use the $200 buy a coin? At the time you will not. You go, oh, this is crazy. But if you have time machine, you travel back, would you do? Yes, you will. Because you know the benefit, you know the future. Just now, there's one board member mentioned, nobody want to increase the tax. I think it cannot present everybody. If you think the money, you think it is a kind of investment. If you know the investment definitely will give you the benefit in the 10 years later, give your child, yes, I think the people will vote yes. So right now the point for the presentation is that Dr. Wee we do present the benefit in the 5 years, 10 years, your proposal whether can give the benefit to the current children, to our students. If the voter, the community see the benefit, they will support you. If not, maybe they will fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment this evening? Okay, thank you. Just before I make a motion to close this evening, there's just a couple of closing comments that I would like to make for the public. And I think it's always nice when people come to these meetings and they speak and they advocate for what they believe is right for the community. And what I will say is I'm sitting up here with 8 of my colleagues who dedicate countless hours. No one here is compensated in any way. Countless hours, countless committees. To be told that this board was fiscally irresponsible is frankly insulting. And what I will say is this board has very deliberately spent the time to invest in our students, to invest in our community. And I believe that this community will rise to the occasion and do what is necessary to keep things intact. I do not believe that this community, being someone who's now lived in Eastchester for almost 15 years, I've seen this community at its best and I've seen this community at its worst. When it comes to the children in this community, I have hope and I have a belief that every single person in this town, we understand the hardship. We all pay taxes here. No one wants to put up this budget. It's not just Albany. It's a myriad of factors that you saw. There was no dereliction of duty or fiscal responsibility that was left neglected to get us to where we are today. We owe it to every child that comes into this district to provide them with a stellar education. We heard this evening 22 students entered this district that were unanticipated, that we welcome with open arms here. So what I would leave you all with tonight before I make a motion to close is I believe Eastchester will rise to the occasion for our community and for our students. With that, do I have a motion to close this evening? Christy, do I have a second? Jill, all in favor? Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.